Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the Detroit Red Wings and the recent extensions of Moritz Seider and then Lucas Raymond and whether or not that could be problematic for the team going forward. So before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Red Wings decided to go on a bit of a spending spree this week, but instead of going off to the market, they decided to say, let's spend the money in-house. And they did extensions to Seider and then Raymond, 7-year deal and then an 8-year deal. And this comes after Seider has been a Calder winner, 50-point defenseman in his first season in the NHL. And then Lucas Raymond is coming off of a year where he had 30 goals for the first time in his career and then cracked 70 points for the first time. And that's all fine and dandy, but I do think people can ask, is this the right decision for the team? And on one hand, I do think you have the duh crowd where they say, of course this is the right decision. Seeing a guy like Seider, he's been at least a guy been able to hit 50 points every year of his career and is probably one of the best, if not the best defenseman for them at the moment. He is going to be going forward at least a top 4 defenseman for them. They're really hoping he can be the stud top pairing defenseman that is able to have a lot of offense, and that is understandable seeing from what we've been given early on in his career. It's not always easy to have these young guys that can produce that many points in a season. As for Lucas Raymond, he is a player that can be and will be a leading goal scorer for the team in the coming years. I think him and DeBrincat could probably be those two guys that are competing at the moment, and you understand why things have kind of gone the way they have. And this also leads into the, yeah, absolutely, we decided to go this route because they have kind of a vision for the future where they've at least got, I think, 6 forwards signed for the next 3 seasons. On the books, of course, so you see that as well. And then you have Mo, who may be the only defenseman at the moment that is signed through 3 years, but you understand that there is somebody in some players in some positions, especially in the forward group, that are locked up for the future, and this could be consistent, and consistency is what you want to see for a team trying to make the playoffs where they are trending in the right direction. So for that camp that is saying these were the right decisions, especially when it comes to getting that long-term security, you can understand. But on the flip side, I do think there are reasons to not be exactly thrilled about this. I think one of the weird things when you're looking at here is Steve Yzerman does seem to like to hand out some of these longer contracts, and I've said before, anything over 4 to 5 years is not something that I'm in love with, and I don't know why he necessarily had to hand out some of these deals. Now the Lucas Raymond deal I'm not as bothered by, because again, if he can continue to grow and even get to be a 35 goal guy where he's getting 80-85 points, you'll love to see that. But I do think for Seider, he is somebody that is getting a little bit more of the questioning. He was somebody that was questioned before when he was drafted, and is a player where his plus minus for his career, if you're somebody that looks at that, is minus every single season. So I'm not somebody that really looks solely at that, but you understand too, his underlying numbers looking at like 5-on-5, things weren't great there. And while people view him as more of this offensive defenseman, he's not a goal scorer and is somebody that's going to be relying on assists. And if you are getting outscored, when a guy's out there that could be a top pairing guy for you that is part of this team where the blue line is lagging a little bit, I do have a problem him getting a 7-year deal. But I think kind of my bigger problem with this team right now is the fact that there are players that are on contracts that I think that he probably would want back at the moment in terms of those contracts, because of the fact that they are right up against the cap. And I know going forward, the team has got younger players, especially that are defensemen, that could go on to play for the side, that are going to be cheaper, that are going to be able to probably be even better than what they have now on the blue line. But it kind of leads to another problem going forward. You have to hand out more big deals to try to keep this team together. I do think my bigger concern with this, especially looking at Seider, is if he's your best defenseman in the next 2 or 3 years and he hasn't grown a whole lot, isn't that kind of a problem? I mean, this guy, if he is able to go on and have years where maybe 50 and 60 points are down years for him, maybe you could understand that a little bit. But if this is a guy that has bad defensive numbers and the offense really isn't there, what do you have? You have a player that you took with a higher pick than a lot of people have expected, and you've got him for a long-term deal, or maybe he's not able to fill the role that you're hoping him to be. So I think that more so that the long-term deals are going to be the backbreaker for this team going forward. But again, too, not necessarily soul-crushing deals, and that's where I'm not saying this is going to be, the worst-case scenario for the team. More so that I'm looking to see how Seider especially can step up and be one of those heroes for this team going forward, as even when these young defensemen get here, they're going to take time to develop, and I'm not exactly thrilled with some of the veteran guys that they have in this defensive group, and I just don't know. So I guess I'll just say with a couple of strokes of the pen, a lot of the future for Hockeytown has kind of been decided here. Will all of it be bad? Probably not. Like we saw last season, Detroit was able to improve and nearly looks to be a playoff team this year. Maybe they even get better. Talking about how we are rooting for veteran Cam Talbot, and maybe Mo can go out there and be one of those leaders for this blue line where he actually is one of their better defensive defensemen or something like that, or just turns into having a good two-way year. Whatever the case is, I don't really know. But I did kind of want to talk about how this team has dedicated their assets and how they're really up against the cap, and it's going to be weird if they aren't able to get to the playoffs or if they're in a spot where they lose early, because they, like I already talked about, have got some money set up over the next 3 years and aren't always going to be looking to be able to move a lot of these contracts out. And even if they did, it's not always ideal to have to play around with contracts to figure out exactly how to allocate more cap. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the Raymond and the Seider extensions? Do you think that it is an issue for these extensions, or do you think that it's more of an issue from some of the deals we saw before this, which kind of emphasize why they maybe shouldn't have gone the route for these longer term deals with these younger players? But again, too, if you get these younger players that turn into studs, you've got them for another 5+ years. So it can kind of be one of those things where you view it one way or the other. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.